Subtest 4, Bilateral Coordination. The bilateral coordination subtest measures the motor skills involved in playing sports and many recreational games. The tasks require body control and sequential and simultaneous coordination of the upper and lower limbs. For each item, the examinee performs a sequence of movements. Some of the tasks will be very familiar to most examinees, such as jumping jacks and pivoting thumbs and fingers, which uses the same movements as the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Other tasks may be new to the examinee, such as tapping feet and fingers while synchronizing opposite sides of the body. When the movement pattern is unfamiliar to the examinee, you may find it useful to demonstrate the task or to explain the movements using the photos that are provided in the administration easel. All tasks must be performed with continuous movement, that is, without extended pauses, touches, jumps, pivots, or taps. For each item, conduct a second trial only if the examinee does not earn the maximum score on the first trial. Before administering each item, teach the task to the examinee using verbal and nonverbal directions as necessary to ensure understanding of the task. Item 1. Touching nose with index fingers, eyes closed. The examinee stands with her arms straight out to the sides, index fingers extended, other fingers tucked in, and eyes closed. Next, the examinee bends one arm, touches her fingertip to the tip of her nose, and then returns her arm to the extended position. Then the examinee bends her other arm, touches her fingertip to the tip of her nose, and then returns her arm to the extended position. The examinee continues touching her index fingers to her nose, alternating arms with each touch. To obtain credit, a portion of the pad of the fingertip must touch a portion of the tip of the nose. For each trial administered, record the number of correct touches up to 4. Item 2. Jumping jacks. The examinee stands with feet together and arms at her sides. Next, the examinee performs jumping jacks, first jumping up, spreading her feet apart, and moving her arms up. Then the examinee jumps up again, bringing her feet back together and moving her arms back down to her sides. She continues performing jumping jacks, reversing leg and arm positions with each jump. The examinee does not need to clap her hands above her head, but her hands should extend over her head with each jumping jack. For each trial administered, record the number of correct jumping jacks up to 5. Item 3. Jumping in place. Same sides synchronized. The examinee stands with her preferred leg and arm on the same side forward, and her other leg and arm to the back. Then the examinee jumps up, bringing her non-preferred leg and arm on the same side forward and moving her other leg and arm back. She continues to jump, reversing leg and arm positions with each jump. For each trial administered, record the number of correct jumps up to 5. Item 4. Jumping in place, opposite sides synchronized. The examinee stands with her non-preferred leg and opposite arm forward, and her other leg and arm to the back. Then she jumps up, bringing her preferred leg and opposite arm forward and moving her other leg and arm back. The examinee continues to jump, reversing leg and arm positions with each jump. For each trial administered, record the number of correct jumps up to 5. Item 5. Pivoting thumbs and index fingers. This activity uses the same action as the Itsy Bitsy Spider song, which is familiar to most children. You may remind the examinee of this song when teaching the task. She sits at the table, extends both arms, holds out her thumbs and index fingers, and touches each thumb to the index finger on the opposite hand. Next, the examinee separates one thumb and finger, pivots the hands, and brings the thumb and finger back together. The examinee continues pivoting thumbs and index fingers in this manner until she completes 5 correct pivots or makes a mistake. For each trial administered, record the number of correct pivots up to 5. Item 6. Tapping feet and fingers, same side synchronized. The examinee sits at a table with her index fingers extended and other fingers tucked in. Sit beside the examinee so her feet and fingers are in clear view. Next, she simultaneously taps foot and index finger on the same side of her body. Then, the examinee simultaneously taps her foot and index finger on the other side of her body. The examinee continues tapping, alternating same side taps. She may tap her feet and fingers in any manner as long as the taps are synchronized on the same sides. For example, the examinee may tap her toes with heels resting on the floor, tap with her entire foot, or tap her heels with toes resting on the floor. Likewise, she may rest her hands on the table or raise her hands off the table while tapping her index fingers. For each trial administered, record the number of correct taps up to 10. Item 7. Tapping feet and fingers, opposite sides synchronized. The examinee sits at a table with her index fingers extended and other fingers tucked in. Next, the examinee simultaneously taps her foot and index finger on opposite sides of her body. Then, she simultaneously taps the other foot and index finger. The examinee continues tapping, alternating opposite side taps. She may tap feet and fingers in any manner as long as the taps are synchronized on the opposite sides. For each trial administered, record the number of correct taps up to 10.